we focus on the highest quality delivering our customers.
How did you get into this industry?
I was 16 when I got my first job. I'm going into work at 6 a.m. and then I'm working after my full-time job and I'm getting home at 9, 10 o'clock. In one day, I was making what I'd make in a month. You're like, okay, well, I'm a technician, I'm gonna start a business, and a technician is not a business owner.
If you had to relive that and play any cards differently, what would they be and why?
What I would change is how much I worked. You know, working 80, 90 hours.
Also, it's like I'm halfway through a movie and there's this like tinge of anxiety that starts to creep in of like, I'm not doing anything, this isn't productive, I'm not doing enough, all these things are happening.
If you're thinking about the past, you're not in the present. If you're thinking about the future, you're not in the present. You can't change the past, you can't really change the future. Why are you not taking full advantage of the present?
What are some of the biggest things that you've learned about hiring, firing, bringing people on board?
I hire for attitude, not mechanical aptitude. You're sitting there thinking that, hey, I'm gonna find somebody on the street that makes the company $2 million a year. It just doesn't happen.
I want to talk a bit about marketing now.
I track metrics. What's my booking rate? What are my guys' closing rates? What is our revenue? What is our average ticket?
What are some of the things that you've gotten highest ROI on?
So word of mouth and yard signs are the two biggest things. If I had to choose one thing I had to drop, it probably would be Google Ads.
You have a competitor in your area that you're not so fond of and you happen to search HVAC near me and there's a guy that's running ads and you say, hey, wait a minute, if I click on this button, it's gonna cost him $60. Yeah, that's crazy. Click, 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 click.
If an HVAC owner is listening to this right now and feels kind of overwhelmed, understaffed, and stuck in the day-to-day operation, what is one decision that you would push to them to make in the next 30, 60 days that would change the trajectory of their overall business?
Read the book, Buy Back Your Time.
So Billy, first of all, welcome. Pleasure to have you here, man. For those of you who aren't familiar, or if you were to give yourself kind of just a brief introduction, would you mind telling us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Billy Gregus. I own Integrity Refrigeration and AC out of Winter Haven, Florida, right there in Central Florida. We're basically HVAC and refrigeration, commercial, residential, and we focus on the highest quality delivering our customers. So we really focus on doing things right, having good technicians, training, etc.
Cool. So before Integrity Refrigeration and AC became what it is now, like what did your life look like? And did you always have a career in HVAC, or did you have something going on before that? And kind of how did you get into this world, this industry?
Yeah. You know, I started pretty young working. I was 16 when I got my first job. And I always gravitated towards mechanical, fixing stuff. I had mechanical aptitude, you know, very early. I understood how things work. So what kind of got me to this point, looking back, is in 2008, I got a position. I was a maintenance lead at a flavoring corporation that had cold storage, comfort cooling, HVAC, and I was in the maintenance department. And I was hired on initially as the main welder, TIG welding, stick welding. But I noticed that we hired a third party every time we had problems with the AC because none of the maintenance crew knew how to work on air conditioning or refrigeration. And I'm the type of person that if I don't know how to do something, you know, I want to know. And this particular job was the best job I've ever had, until this job, of course. But they would pay for training, anything that would contribute towards helping the company out. They would fully reimburse. And I took advantage of that. And I did about 7 or 8 years of training. You know, I even went very deep into it. So trained for about 7 years. The whole time in between that, I'm starting to be able to work on the equipment, the comfort cooling, the refrigeration side. So that's really kind of how I got started. I didn't think I was going to start my own business. I got the license to be able to do warranties for the company that I was working for. And then I started helping friends out. And then it just got to the point where it made more sense, more sense for me and my family to move forward and start the business and take the entrepreneurial leap, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll dive into that a little bit more because your story is not that different from a lot of the other people that we talk to, where it's like kind of started just a need that was born out of your own necessity. In this case, working for another company, it's like, hey, there's this gap that needs to be filled. Someone, would step up to the plate and learn the skills necessary to deliver that. And, in that case, that was you. But what were some of the big like decision-making factors that went into like, okay, I'm doing this thing as a part of this other business that I'm working to. I really think I have a shot at, doing this on my own. And what were kind of the things that like, the leading up to that boiling point of like deciding to go all in on your own thing. Um, and yeah, what was this like? What pushed you over the ledge to decide to go into business for yourself?
Well, at the current job, I was very committed. I invest heavily into everything I do. I try not to half step anything. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to do it 100%. So I was working for this company. On the weekends was be the weekends and after work was the only times I'd be able to do the AC. And it got to the point where I'm working, I'm going into work at 6 a.m. and then I'm working after my full time job, and I'm getting home at 9, 10 o'clock. And you do that for about a year straight, and your family starts getting aggravated because all you're doing is working, don't have time to spend time with I had a daughter at the time. My daughter was growing up, it was that perfect age. She was 3, 4, 5, and I was just working too much. The company was great that I was working for. Some management changed around a little bit. So I think it was a combination of I wanted to have something, I wanted to build something for my family, a legacy. I was working a lot of hours, and it just made sense to go on my own. With management changing, it all kind of just came through very clear to me that it was time. I was in one day I was making what I'd make in a month working for the company, even with overtime. So a bunch of factors like that came into play that caused me to go, hey, this is worth taking a shot for. Right now, I can support my family on just the work that I have, let alone if I go full time. So that was the end decision and what made me go ahead and move forward.
Sure. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of times, a lot of people will trade their 9 to 5 for self-employment, but they don't realize that the self-employment is actually a 24/7 instead of the 9 to 5. Obviously, when you're kind of on that in-between stage where, you might be working at another job and kind of got your own business on weekends, after hours, stuff like that. When you're in that boat, you're definitely, burning the candle on both ends. And it sounds like just from the story that you told, it's like your time with family and stuff like that is super important to you. So what was the kind of, for someone else that's maybe in that situation now and they're having this same discussion with a wife and maybe kids in tow as well, where it's like, hey, I really want to do this for myself. I think this is what's best. I'm already spending all of my time working, and maybe realizing it or not, that starting your own thing might mean actually more hours in the immediate short term, but the payoff is, going to be better for us. How does that conversation look like, and how do you kind of approach that, and how did you navigate through that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are probably in a similar boat as they're getting started with their own thing, their own ventures. So
Yeah, as it was, as it was getting to that point where I started, deciding to go on my own. That was 2017. 2015, I got my contractor's license, and I started really dabbling in pretty heavily. So for 2 years I pushed that envelope to where I'm working 60 hours of my full time, and I'm working another 30 hours on my, on the side, working Saturdays, Sundays. So obviously, the time missed with the family, my wife, I've missed a lot of things, thinking that I'm doing the right thing, by, hey, I'm providing for my family, I'm making money, this is what it takes. But the more I did it, I started getting a little bit of burned out. I started, money was great, but if you don't have time to spend it, and then, I asked myself one question. I said, this is so important to me. I want to have a legacy. I want to be the best at what I do. I've got my family, I've got the business, I've got money. But if I didn't have my family, the money, the fame, the legacy, none of that would matter. So I'm working hard to get money to think I'm doing the right thing, but let alone I'm cutting off the family, that the whole reason I'm doing all this is for my family, so that was a real eye opener to me. Missing a bunch of games with my daughter. These just kind of compounded up to where it's, I had a conversation with my wife, and it I did it softly, I like to say, because in 2015, I started it up. I was already building customers from 2015 to 2017. So when I say entrepreneurial leap, let's maybe say just a little slight jump because the bank account was cushioned. You got to figure I'm working full time for my job, and, money from the business. So I had plenty of capital saved up. I was buying, paying things off, trailers, enclosed trailers, tools. So I took a soft jump, and all those kind of came down to the decision where it just made sense. I needed more time with my family, and then just like you're speaking, you're like, okay, well, I'm a technician, I'm going to start a business, and a technician is not a business owner. So I had to learn that, and those were some really hard years because you're exactly right. It was still 7 days a week trying to build it up, trying to, get your name out there, market, make sure customers are happy, fix things while you're answering phones, while you're, trying to diagnose tools. So I probably had another 3 good hard years where I was still pushing 80, 85 hours a week. Cause you're right, it's 24/7. So now I'd go home at, say I'd go home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock sometimes. My phone is still sometimes ringing, at 6 o'clock in the morning, angry customer. Those are hard, those are hard things to do. You're in the business because you want freedom and you want independence and you think it's going to be this cushion thing. But until you start getting into it, you don't realize if you want to be good at something, you have to invest a lot into it. And I had to learn so much about being a leader, about being a business owner, about taxes, about finding more work, about making sure the work got taken care of, the quality side, marketing. So all of those things basically gave me a lot of ball caps that I had to wear, and slowly through the years I've been able to take them off. But you're exactly right. You're like, okay, I'm in business for myself, I've made it. But that's just the beginning. It's still a hard road if you want to get to the point where you've got to establish enough systems and processes. You got a good team behind you to be able to kind of let off the gas a little bit.
Yeah, and I think another piece of it or component of it for sure is it's not necessarily so much the multiple ball hats that you have to wear when you're a business owner, because especially in the beginning, like you said, that first 2 to 3 year hump, like you are the Swiss Army knife. You need to plug all the holes. It's basically on you to fill every single role, and not only do it, be good at it, but also be a leader and teach other people and kind of develop your own way of doing things, and then duplicate yourself, translate that, and teach others how to basically replace yourself over time. But it's not an easy process. And in my experience too, like I'm excited to learn those things, and I always want to like kind of develop and feel like I'm, pushing myself forward as well. Not only in the business, but also the skills that I'm learning and how I'm developing with it. But the most exhausting part too is not only the long hours and the burnout that comes with that, but it's the switching of the hats all the time that also can be draining, where it's like you're constantly having to put yourself in a different aspect of your business. And until you really get a system dialed in or get the right people that can help kind of take some of the weight off of the different parts of that system, it can be taxing on you mentally to constantly have to be switching between customer support and customer service mode versus sales and marketing mode versus, okay, now I'm actually in someone's house and I got to work on and fix the actual thing and do the actual work too. So, it's a lot to kind of juggle all at once. Totally understand and can relate to that for sure. So
Absolutely, yeah. It's not for the weak at heart. I'm glad I obviously did it. I'm at the point where, and it's not perfect. I like to consider myself somewhat a perfectionist. I hit a goal and I like to move that goal again. And I never really congratulate myself. And that's something I'm working on, because we've done such great things. Every year we grow more and more, but besides that, I'm becoming a business owner. I'm becoming a leader. I'm able to, provide for my team. That is the reason why we are successful. That's so neat. Being able to see them, go on vacations, buy RVs, buy brand new trucks. I'm providing that. Obviously they're doing the working, but I'm creating the opportunity for that to happen. So that's been a new joy that I've discovered is watching people advance, and we do training, and I'm sure we'll go deeper into it, but it's a journey, and you really don't know what you're going to get into until you get into it. Honestly, the reason I had to become a good leader, become a good business owner, become a good technician was because I had to go through things. I didn't have anybody to fall back on. It was me. A lot of times in work, you get a problem and you're like, well, let me ask my boss or let me ask my manager. You are boss manager. You're the final decision. And if you can't figure it out, you drop the ball. And one thing I didn't want to do is let customers down. So it was definitely it's definitely a wild ride that I'm glad I took. But I was not prepared at all. But that is what forced me to become the man I am today, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, obviously it's a different approach can be taken based off of your personality and kind of who you are and how you operate. But a lot of times when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, stuff like that, a lot of times it's just, trial by fire. You kind of rise to the occasion and the amount of stress, pressure, out of necessity of the situation that you're in, you kind of learn the skills to adapt to that and just figure it out kind of because you have to. And like you said, at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. You're the final decision maker, the final yes or no on anything that is revolving around the business. So it's important to develop that muscle and build confidence in yourself too along the way. Making the right, sometimes we make the right choice, sometimes we don't, but at the end of the day, you live and you learn and just try to make more of the right ones than the wrong ones and keep going and don't quit. That's really
Yeah,
the process. So if
absolutely.
you were someone that was thinking about starting your business again today, maybe in a similar situation, in my experience, I did things very similarly where there was a transition phase between working at another job and then kind of being a business owner in between. Would you have played it as safe or more aggressive if you could go back and do it? Is there anything about kind of that process that you would change? Um, Maybe like I know there's so many factors and variables that go into that, but just thinking back about some of those first kind of years where it was like, um, if you had to relive that and play any cards differently, what would they be and why?
Okay, that's easy. As far as going back, I think I did it pretty safe. I like I said, I'd like to say I jumped off the mountain and hey, I made it. The business just passed its 10 years. What is it? Something like 70% of businesses don't make it past that point.
Yeah.
So big, we're growing every single year. What cards would I play different? So I wouldn't really change that. I thought I did it very well. I built my capital up, saved money, paid things off. I did it very well to where I'll be honest, I put myself to where I have never been in a financial situation where it's like, how are we going to make payroll or how are we going to pay for this? I'm very financially responsible. So luckily I have that trait to where I didn't have any stressful moments, and I'm glad. That's not fun. One of my biggest fears is that. So I think I did it right. I wouldn't change that. What I would change is how much I worked. I wanted to be the best, and you can call it you can call it a flaw, you can call it a character trait of mine, but when I do something, I do it 100%. If I doing jujitsu, I'm doing it 5, 6 days a week. Going into competitions, doing it every single week. I don't really half step anything. The gym, I work out every day. The things that I like to do, I want to be the best at. And I understand that takes work, that takes research, that takes, for instance, if I want to be the best soccer player, and I got a game on Saturday, I can't go in on Saturday and think that I'm going to be an all-star. You've got to practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for weeks, months at a time. So I look at life like that. And, what I would change is how much I worked. I pushed it too hard, working 80, 90 hours. Like I said, thinking I'm doing the right thing. Now that I'm older and I can look back, I missed a lot of moments that I won't ever get with my daughter. Or, I wasn't there for sometimes whenever, my wife needed assistance. So I would have sacrificed the money, and not working so much to have those precious moments, instead of it just being a picture on my camera that I get text. Actually being present in the moment. That's what I'm really working on now is, I've got a son. He's turning 3 in February. And, it's really neat seeing the stages of, him talking and him just growing up in different stages. And I kind of miss that with my daughter, thinking that I'm doing the right thing. So I would definitely say, don't, cap it off, Monday through Saturday, work till 5 p.m. Then when you're off at 5 p.m., don't think about work. You literally be present in the moment with your family, enjoy what you have. Um, uh, that's one of my biggest mottos is be present in the moment. If you're working, work. If you're, with the family at the house, make sure that you're enjoying the time that you have with them there. Cause, I didn't do that very well when I was younger, but I'm getting better at it for sure.
Yeah. How do you I mean, with kids and stuff, it's different. It's so funny you're saying this because, I mean, me today, like, I kinda had a personal day. I hung out with my girlfriend, watched a movie, just didn't do a whole lot of work-related stuff. Like, this podcast was the one thing on the calendar today that I was like, "I'm gonna show up and get this done, and this is work for today," which is cool, but also it's like I'm halfway through a movie, and there's this, like, tinge of anxiety that starts to creep in of, like, "I'm not doing anything. This isn't productive. I'm not doing enough. All these things are happening." Like, there's it's hard for someone that has that to turn it off sometimes. So I know, like, if I put myself in a position where it's like there's kids and there's other like really emotionally or spiritually like meaningful things to me, I can see how it'd be easier for me to kind of calm that voice in my head that's like go 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 go, don't stop, all in, pedal to the metal. um but is there any mental frame or perspective shift that you've had outside of maybe the kids? Because I feel like for me that would be an easy one. I don't have kids, but I can be empathetic to someone that does and be like, yeah, like, dude, I would probably be able to drop what I'm doing or maybe sacrifice a little extra money in the bank for something like a whole other human being, right? But is there any other things or like, I guess, mental shifts that happened where it made it a little bit easier to prioritize stuff outside of money, business, go, go, go,
Yeah.
all in?
Obviously the kids, we already talked about, what I heard a couple quotes that really helped, because when I was working 70, 80 hours a week. And then whenever I was home with the family, the one day I got, or, whatever the case was, I was thinking about work or I was on the phone trying to set something up for the next week. Or I was talking to a customer that we didn't do a good job for, whatever the case was. What really helped me is this. If you're whatever you're doing in the present moment, if you're thinking about the past, you're not in the present. If you're thinking about the future, you're not in the present. You can't change the past. You can't really change the future. Why are you not taking full advantage of the present? Like you're saying, watching the movie. I have that same tension. And because you sit there and you go, you want to be the best. Why are you not working? You could be doing something. Why are you not productive? That I haven't been able to figure out how to turn that off. I have increased, you got to think about it. Why am I doing this? I'm not, part of the reason is to be the best, to build a legacy, to build something for my team. My main priority is making sure my family is taken care of. Why am I doing the second and third things in my life that are more important? My family is the most important. So that's what really helped me kind of throttle it down. And the special moments that I have because I do that when I take off the weekends, when I go on vacation, with my family and I'm present, I don't answer my phone. When my daughter's talking to me, we have a conversation. I'm looking her dead in. I have no distractions. My son, he's growing up. I'm paying attention to him and playing with him. Uh, that is so much more rewarding right now, than anything else because it is the most important thing. You, you, if my family, my kids are absolutely my everything, my number one reason why I'm doing things. Why am I not putting most of my time into that? Just like everything in a business, you want to be good at something, you got to invest time into it. Well, if I want to be the best dad, if I want to be the best husband, guess what? You have to put time into it. So I can't be there part time and think that I'm gonna provide for my wife, I'm gonna provide for my kids. That was the biggest thing is wanting to be the best in business. And I sat back and go, but I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best husband. And just like everything, you have to invest time into it to be good at it. So that's what really helped me kind of throttle back and kind of quiet down that voice where it's like, hey, you're not doing anything. You can answer an email. Life is so much more funner when you're present in the moment and you're thinking about what you're doing at that present moment. The experience of that is kind of what helped me stay on this path. And I'm not perfect. I still got I've got more growing to do and more things I want to improve on. But every year I improve and I'm a better version of myself. So
Yeah. Thinking about it, just kind of running it through my head now, it's like that makes a lot of sense where in our personal world, there's this financial element to it as well. But like once that's kind of taken care of and we know that like, okay, we have a little bit of a cushion here, the idea of like, I'm doing the work, I'm building this business, I'm doing all this stuff for the family, but there's also the reality of it where it's like, the needs that your family has and the way that you can show up for them, there's so many other ways that you can do that outside of just like building an awesome business. Like your 3-year-old son probably has no idea how much money is in your bank account and has no concept of what that even means for him in the material world. But you being there, being present, interacting with him on a day-to-day, like that's the stuff that actually counts. And if you were to ask your 3-year-old son how much that time or those interactions are worth to him, if he had the concept of money, he'd say like millions and billions of dollars, right? Like that's untangible amounts of value for them. So, you can't really put a price on certain stuff like that. So I think that's a really good way to kind of look at things and adjust your perspective or play things out into the future. If you don't do that, like 10 years from now, how much would you pay to go back and relive some of those moments? And if it's more money than what it was making you in that difference of time, like it wasn't worth it. So I think that's interesting. Um, in the first like 2 to 3 years, what were some of the things that you thought would work but didn't? And then what were some of the things that you're like, no way, this is a shot in the dark, but surprised you as far as maybe some of the results or the things that actually like really moved the needle forward for the business and delivered in maybe unexpected ways?
it's a loaded one. Um, so what did I do that gave me the thing? No, I honestly, I never really tried something and say, this is a shot in the dark. I play it safe. I do my research. I invest into making sure whatever I do it correctly. Nothing's really coming to mind right now. You know, all I can think about right now is me transitioning from when I started in 2015. My mindset, I got to make money for my family. 17, I'm making the entrepreneurial leap. It was just me. I, I never thought I was going to be, I've got 12 people, that work under me. I never thought I would be at this point. Um, I just, I just focused on delivering the highest quality, doing things right completely. Work ethics is very important to me. We're entrepreneurs, so I think it's just that trait in us where we have to be good at something. We have to keep pushing. We're wasting time. I've been able to definitely balance out my work life a lot more. It helps that I'm in a position now where I've got systems, I got processes, I've got a great team around me. We've got a great recruitment process to where we're hiring A players. We've got a great vision, mission. We've got core values. Um, it just, I focus on delivering the highest quality to the customer. I focus on making sure my team can count on me to get opportunities for them to be able to feed their family and continue to grow. So that's been the staple of my entire forward movement is just following that. Do if you do something, do it right with quality. The people around you that are giving you the success of the business, take them with you. I invest very heavily into the business because I want I want to grow as fast as possible while keeping the quality that I insist my company has. Because the more people I can help, that's the best feeling in the world to me. Having somebody work for you and seeing them fulfill their dreams and being happy and loving culture. Culture is great at where we work. I get up in the morning, none of my coworkers dread coming into work. You won't hear, "Is it Friday yet?" on a Wednesday for any of the team members that I have, because we have a great work environment. We all have the passion and desire to take care of our customers. So again, I'm living. This is the dream. When you think I want to be successful, I am successful right now. You know, um, it all is the definition of what is success. $200 million in your bank account. My success is having time with my family, bringing up the people that help me get to this point, continually advancing and being a better version of myself. And I'm doing that. So why don't I sit back and enjoy that instead of constantly pushing the goalposts, moving forward? That's the kind of summary, I guess you could say. I don't really have any kind of one-offs where it said I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I play things really safe, maybe too safe. One thing is maybe I played it too safe because I don't have big moments to where I was like, "Oh, I could have lost it all." I don't put those kind of risk out there because, I'm playing the long game, longevity. I don't need to make gambles like that. Have I taken big jobs that we weren't prepared for that really put a lot of pressure on us? Yes. So pushing myself in that aspect where we'd quote a job and we're like, "How are we going to get this done?" I said, "Well, let's get the job and we'll figure it out." And we always did. So that's about the only kind of risk that I took. Everything else, I don't know if you can call me too safe, but I don't really have any shock moments. I really did my homework. I did my research and I put worth ethics in everything I did. This is what it's kind of created. Just scratching the surface. I'm young. I'm 42 years old. I've got such a great vision, and it's cool because it isn't a vision where I have this huge bank account and everything's coming to me. It's me lifting my entire team up, and it's me providing the best service to our customers and building a legacy in the county that we're in. Is really my main vision, and we're doing it. So that's probably what I would say about that.
Yeah, creating the life or the lifestyle where you don't feel like you dread punching in or punching out. Um, that's obviously huge. And I can tell just by the way that you're lighting up and smiling as you're explaining it that, like, obviously, as someone that would work for you, a lot of that energy and that enthusiasm and passion probably bleeds into the rest of the workplace as well. So I can tell that that's something that, like, you're not just saying that, it's genuinely important to you. Um, a lot of guys struggle though with hiring and building that team of people that are also bought into the vision, are not just here to collect a paycheck, understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve. Even if that's just like curating and creating an awesome space for the people that are also here doing this with us. What are some of the biggest things that you've learned about hiring, firing, bringing people on board, building out that team that ultimately is like what helps push your business, propel you guys even further?
Yeah, I've advanced a lot in recruiting. You know, um, you know, to, to answer your question, real short, and then I'll go back on a little story. I hire for attitude, not mechanical aptitude. That's my best experience, I can say. If somebody's got a strong attitude, they smile, they're positive, they're not always blaming other people. They want to learn. Those are the people I thrive on. Because I'm similar. I try to look things in a positive light because you're never going to have a positive outcome from a negative mindset. So I always try to think, the glass is always half full. Uh, as far as recruiting, my my process has developed a lot. I used to, sit there and be like, "Man, I can't find any good people. I don't understand, nobody wants to work." And then I sat back and, I love doing conferences and I invest very heavily in my education every single year. I go to probably 7, 8 home shows, different conferences with other business owners. And like I said, I want to be the best at everything I do. So, I sat back and I'm sitting there, me being the person that doesn't want to blame, sit there, go, well, nobody wants to work. I can't find any good people. And then I said, well, what am I doing that is impacting that? And I sat there and I go, I have no recruitment process. I have no advertising on recruitment. I think that somebody who's going to make my company $2 million is just going to walk in and just all of a sudden turn my complete business around without me doing any effort. When in any of my business ventures has that ever happened where you just gets dropped in your lap? You've had to work for it. So I've really revamped my recruitment process. I have a full-time person that's doing recruitment because it's important. It doesn't matter what kind of passion, drive, and care I have. I'm not the one going out to the customer's home. I can say it all I want, but they're the ones that are going to be the face of the business whenever they go out there. There's the ones that whenever they're in the attic and no one sees them, are they going to do the right thing? So I've got really good at vetting new hires. Basically, I have a platform and we post to a bunch of different job platforms. We probably get anywhere between 8 to 20 applications a day. We filter through that very heavily. If you look at our hiring, we're always hiring. We're never not hiring because I look at it like this. If we find an A player, I'm going to make a position in the company for them is my mindset. So we're always hiring consistently. We never stop. That is really helpful because you're constantly filtering through people. The worst time to hire somebody is whenever you need them. I just want a warm body. Again, you're sitting there thinking that, hey, I'm going to find somebody on the street that makes $2 million, that makes the company $2 million a year. It just doesn't happen. Also, culture is very important to me. So I make sure that they've got the attitude, they've got the culture, they've got the drive. They're doing it for the right reasons. I question them and I sit there and, why'd you get in this trade? And there's like, because it pays good. That's not going to be the person really, that's going to bring the A players up in my organization. So being very selective, going through all the resumes, filtering through out of a week, probably out of 100 resumes, we might look at 5 people. That's how detailed we are, but we're not in a rush. I've got enough people right now. Again, if I find an A player, I'm hiring because those are rare. As soon as I filter through, I have a detailed process, where, they have to put their resume in, then they have to have a conversation with my recruiter. Then my recruiter says, hey, this is a good one. We send him a link and he does a virtual interview. Once I see the virtual interview, I can tell their energy. I can tell, do they have the drive? I can tell, is there a light in their eyes? And then if they pass that, then they come in, I have a conversation with them. So we have a very detailed process. And I think that's what's really, really helping us to have A players and have a great culture. As soon as I have any kind of negative talk or anything that might bring the culture down, I stop it immediately because again, I want my guys to wake up excited for the day. Hey, we're going to do this cool job. I can't wait. I'm going to learn something new. I don't want somebody sitting there going, is it Friday yet? Just having a very, very good filter and working as hard in recruiting as I do in everything else is what's allowed us to have a great culture and great A players that are part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple pins in that, couple key takeaways. I want to like double back and hopefully remember each of the individual points. The first one being the heavily filtering out applicants. And I've been self-employed for several years now, but I'm not so far disconnected from working for another organization where I forget what that was like to show up and have to be on the crew with the guys that weren't there with a good attitude. And like, it really, even though I might have a great attitude, really be enjoying my day, as soon as I'm stuck working with the guys that are like, bitching, moaning, complaining, is it Friday yet? That like the bad apples really do spoil the bunch. And it's like, there's so many times where I can remember thinking back, I'm like, dude, I kind of actually really like that job. It's just the other people there that made it, a little insufferable. So as a business owner now thinking about recognizing those same kind of moments where I'm like, I don't know if this particular attitude or this particular person is going to be great for the other people that are here. It's not necessarily about if they do a good job or not. It's just, is it creating a environment where that's going to lower, either the standards of work or the emotional kind of vibe that everyone's on. But both of those two things are equally as dangerous, in my opinion. Another thing that you talked about briefly was like kind of just the process that they go through. You mentioned that you have a couple online boards. Do you mind sharing like the exact platforms, what they're called, and kind of how that looks? Because there's a lot of people that struggle with just sourcing applicants. And one mindset shift that I try to explain is like, the same way that you do marketing and sales for your business to generate leads for customers to, do the service and produce revenue for the business, that same process, that same mindset that you go through with that is how you should be trying to market and sell for people to work at your business. It's lead generation, basically. It's the same thing that you do to get customers, you can do to get employees. Now, how you structure that's a little bit different, but the mindset of like, we constantly need to have it going. It's not something where, we wait until the calendar's empty to try to go get new customers. It's like, no, we need to kind of keep this a steady, ongoing thing. So, would love to kind of just get a little more into the nitty gritty about that process for you guys, specifically like the first touch point. Like, what are some of those platforms where people can find you or reach out to you?
Yeah. So I've been on a company called Higher Dimensions, and just a little side note, people in the HVAC construction industry, almost any industry, I highly suggest getting into a best practice group. Um, I got into a best practice group in 2020. I didn't know what business structure was supposed to be like. I just know, let me work as hard as I can. Let me fix all the problems. Once I got into a best practice group and I saw what successful companies were doing and how neat the industry was and how tight knit of a community it was, it literally kicked my passion through the roof. And it constantly is able to give me checks and balances on what's right. What does this person do that makes this outcome? So get into a best practice group. Highly recommended. I'm in two best practice groups. It's BDR, Business Development Resources, and Service Nation was the actual first best practice group. Just life changing. Meeting those kind of people, business owners, talking about them, their struggles, their problems. Everybody has the same problems. A lot of times you think, I remember when I was just doing business alone, I'm just trying to make sure customers are happy and I'm trying to be a leader. I'm like, other people can't have these problems. I'm like, there's no way I have a problem for a problem. So get in the best practice group, super critical. With those best practice groups, I learned these platforms and I learned this process is where I got it from. So where I get all of my applications from that I consistently receive, someone calls and say, "Are you hiring?" Yes. Even if we don't have we're not going to be hiring for a position. If I find an A player, I'm going to take them on. So the platform is called Higher Dimensions, is what it's called, and basically put our information in. I've got a manager that constantly talks to me every single month. Hey, I don't see many resumes coming from this position. Why don't we change some things around? Really strategic company that I've had for about 3 years. They post to, I think it's about 50 different platforms, Indeed, Jobber, all the main ones they post to. It has a great platform where I can text the applicant, I can email the applicant, I have their information, I have their resume on file, I can rate them. So if we're not hiring right now, he's not a perfect fit, I can make him a 4-star and put, hey, he's good potential XYZ. And I can put him in my database. And then whenever we're like, hey, I got an opportunity to be able to do this, I can look back, filter through, and I'm not just looking for warm bodies and a pulse at that point. I've got an archive of about 300 people who are decent people. They didn't wow me, I guess to say. So, Higher Dimensions is what I use them for. Um, I've got a full-time recruiter that really helps, making sure we're answering, you have to respond back to these people who are filling out, resumes. You have somebody put in a resume, if you don't respond back to them, they're looking for other jobs. And I promise you, A players get hired very quick. So you have to be quick. You just like you're saying, you have to treat them like a customer. You have to follow up on them. You have to do the work. You can't just expect, well, he's going to call me and he's going to come in and I want him to impress me. No, it's the other way around. Hey, this place is going to be great to work. I promise you I'll create opportunities for you. We're continuing to advance. There's going to be no ceiling. You want to sell yourself to that employee because at the end of the day, he could make the company $2 million. He could have the great attitude that you're looking for to bring the culture up. So higher dimensions is what I use for my basically all my applications and contacting. Full-time recruiter. Once it gets processed through there, I was doing in-house interviews, but there'd be a lot of people that didn't show up, and I would block off my calendar. And I don't know if you're the same way. My time is very, very important, and every single day, my schedule is usually completely full. Sometimes days in advance. I found that very ineffective. I there's a business owner that I found from a best practice group. His name's Derek Cormier. He works, he's the owner of, Comfort Cooling over in, it's in Sanford in Florida. And he introduced me to Hireflix is what it's called. Really simple process. Basically, I ask 5 questions. I record it. So it feels like a live interview. Well, I have 5 questions I ask the candidate. I'm asking them just like we're looking at it right now. They can do it on their mobile phone. They can do it on their computer. They can do it on an iPad. They can do it on break at the job that they're at. They could do it at 9 o'clock at night after work. That really helped because that allowed me to see a lot more people without investing a lot of time into it by setting time off. So Hireflix, Hireflix is the platform. Probably a game changer, absolutely game changer to where I don't have to, I don't have to waste as much time and I make it convenient for the person that's, that's doing the interview. So that worked out well for me. Very, very affordable. That's the process that I use. And then I just use experience over the years. I made mistakes and I hired people. When people say they can do something, sometimes it doesn't mean they can really do it. And you usually find out very quick. People can fake for about 2 to 3 weeks, I've found. After that, the real person starts coming through. So we have a 90-day probation period that we had to create from that. Everything that I have in my business is because I got burned or I was needing to learn a better way. So we have a 90-day probation period to where you're not guaranteed a spot. If you don't make the cut or if you're not a culture fit or if you say you do something and it necessarily you don't, you earn your position after the 90 days, and that's when vacation, benefits, raises, everything kicks in. So that process has worked very well right now for the position that I'm at.
Yeah, trust but verify, I think is how the saying goes. And that new job, happy, excited, new group of people, I want them all to like me, energy, definitely 2 to 3 weeks, you notice the significant change. That's funny. Anyone listening to this that's either had a job or employed other people can relate to that, whether they're on one side of the fence or the other, for sure. The Hireflix platform, so you have a pre-recorded video with questions set up for them. Do they send a video back so you can get a little bit of body language, kind of other context there, so it's more like face-to-face? So they submit a recording or a video of them and send that back? That's how they complete that?
Yeah, so if they pass all the steps before that, we email them, and it's a link that they click onto. They go onto the Hireflix platform. On the Hireflix platform, I have multiple positions. I send them the link to whatever position they're applying for. They have 5 questions, and they don't get to see those 5 questions. So the first thing that they see is they click it. They say, hey, do you have time? Can you sit down? Do you have a moment? Is it quiet? They start it, and they see it just like me and you. This is Billy with Integrity Refrigeration AC. Thank you for giving me your time. Tell me, why did you get into this trade, and what's the main reasons why you want this position? Now they have they have one redo on that question. So say something happens, they get one redo. They get 20 seconds to prep to start answering that question. So that's when you know the real person. You don't want a recording where they can set up, again, you start seeing fake things when that is. So I ask them a question, they've got 20 seconds to respond, and you get one redo per question. So that kind of makes it to where it's basically like a sit down where you can really see how quick are they answering? Do they seem confident? Are they, how is their posture? Are they well spoken? So, again, that's been the probably the biggest game changer is getting that virtual interview to be able to cycle through multiple people a day without killing a bunch of my time. I can't say good enough things about Hireflix. So yes, it is recorded on my end to where I don't have to do any back end, but they're on the spot. They have 20 seconds to be prepared. They hear it from the recording, and then it's go time. And you get one redo. And you see the real person. They don't have time to act, basically.
Yeah, it's good that there's not like a ability to submit a pre-recorded thing. I like that it's kind of on the spot. That's pretty much as close as you can simulate an in-person interaction without it actually being in person. That's pretty cool. I'll definitely have to check out that platform a little more. It sounds interesting. So yeah, cool, man. Thanks for breaking that down a little further. Yash, you want to take it away with some of the next couple questions?
Sure. First of all, Billy, these are some really good insights. I want to talk a bit about marketing now.
I track metrics. I'm a very, very driven KPI metrics kind of person. I'm looking at what's my booking rate? What are my guys' closing rates? What is our revenue? What is our average ticket? On as far as marketing side, how much are we spending on Google LSA? What's our return on investment? So I am very heavily involved in making sure that I know the progress. Besides that, I get a report every single month that shows the trend. It shows, have we moved up in SEO? It shows how many calls did we get? I am a big advocate of tracking numbers. So for instance, I do guerrilla marketing every single week. I put out 10 yard signs in the city that we're in. And it has a special number on there. So if a customer calls that, it's going to mark the campaign as yard sign or billboard or whatever marketing, mail card, postcard, realty company, whatever I'm advertising to. I want to be able to track those metrics to make sure, is this working? Because the easiest thing I can do is sum up this. I try something. If it works, I keep doing it. If it doesn't, I stop doing it. It's about as simple as you can get in business and success. I'm okay with trying something as long as it sounds right, but I'm going to be looking at the ROI. Am I giving you $20 a month and I'm getting 100 back? So the marketing company I'm with now is absolutely amazing. I feel confident. I see what they're doing on a daily basis. I can see them on my account. I can see them making recommendations. What really helped the most is tracking and understanding my numbers, making sure I know how many calls do we get. My CSRs, I'm tracking by booking rate. I'm tracking by how many calls did we get today? How many were leads? And then how many were leads that we didn't get? Then I have them send me the recording because I want to know, if my CSR made a mistake that we could have possibly got that call, I want to know and change it. So I'm very, very, very heavily involved in making sure that we're setting ourselves up for success by looking at KPIs, looking at numbers, being the leader for my team. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the stance I'm at in marketing. I made many mistakes, but it was basically thinking that I pay a marketing company and they just dump a whole bunch of cash into my checking account. You've got to put the work in. Like I said, guerrilla marketing, sponsor baseball games. I'm in the Chamber of Commerce for our city. Business, BNI groups. Constantly advertising, Google LSA, Google marketing. Anything, I'm heavily involved in it because we cannot make any money if we don't have people calling the phones and we don't have people wanting our services. So here in the last couple years, I've been very, very educated, and I have advanced a lot in marketing.
Makes sense.
Biggest thing there is you also have the numbers and data to back it up on your end as well. I mean, we do a lot of the marketing services, consulting stuff, and a lot of times like you can only help someone so much if they know the real deal numbers on their end when it comes to book rate, close rate, what their margin is. A lot of guys, if you ask them what's your overhead or like what's your average ticket price, they have no clue. So it's really hard to get any read on if the amount that you're spending on marketing is justifiable, first of all, if you can even afford it. You know, if your cost per lead is $50, $100, $500, you kind of need to know what your average close rate is, your book rate is, and then also your margin on those services. Is the lead paying for itself when you actually go and complete? Like, are you actually making money at the end of the day with that? So yeah, there's so many things that go into making marketing profitable, and at the end of the day, it's just data collection. You know what I mean? The marketing company has to be yeah, and that's another thing that you said too is like, the end goal with any amount of marketing would be omnipresence, right? And when you're hiring a agency or a service provider for whatever it is, you know, there's only so many ways that they can show up for your business. You know, like we can't go out to our client's service area and put the yard signs out and do door hangers or, you know, sponsor baseball games. Those are all the little things that you still need to do. And it's really every new channel that you set up compounds and makes the others work better too. So when someone sees your banner or the t-shirts for the local baseball game, and then they get a letter in the mail or like a flyer in the mail, you know, call it quarterly, and then they see the, you know, van that's marked up and has the number, phone number, graphics, it's all branded and stuff, looks nice. And then they search up, you know, HVAC near me, and you're the first one there with 5-star reviews. And like, you know, it makes it really hard for them to not choose you when you're the most visible. But you know, that stuff doesn't happen. You can't expect to just dump a bunch of money into an agency and that's the result that you're going to get. It is, you know, it's a tag team effort, and there's some things that can definitely be outsourced when it comes to like the digital stuff. And yeah, there's some skill sets and there's some tricks of the trade that the average business owner could definitely benefit from hiring someone to do that stuff. But that doesn't mean that you're relieved of your duty to do any of the in-person stuff as well, which is equally beneficial. So, you know, that's the biggest missing component other than the knowing the numbers. Most people just have no clue. They're lost
And I used
completely.
not to, you know, I can't knock them. But I was so tired of not knowing, is my marketing company doing anything? You know, is this makes sense? I don't like guessing on things like that. So, just being very involved. And whenever I have a feeling something in the business that it's easy, I tell myself that I'm not putting enough work into it. I'm not doing enough research. I'm not, I want to know the ins and outs and everything. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, you said you have pretty good data, specifically with, you know, call tracking numbers and knowing, you know, via source. What are some of the things that you've gotten highest ROI on, and what are some of the ones that were like, it's okay, but if we had to allocate more budget to one or the other, we would pick this? And maybe also kind of the follow-up question to that, what has changed, maybe call it over the past 3 to 5 years? Have you noticed any shift in what's performing better or worse compared to previous years?
Yeah. You know, SEO is definitely king. But AI is really shaking that up. You know, people are not going to Google so much. If you look at their search inquiries, you know, it's dropping drastically because of ChatGPT and because of the AI platforms. So to go back, where I think I've got the highest ROI is honestly yard signs 100%. Because it does two things. It gives them an opportunity. They're having a problem. They're driving down the road, and all of a sudden they see, you know, my branding, my company, that can fix their solution. So it's doing two things. It's allowing them to get a number to be able to call my business, to be able to get over there. But then also we can't say enough about branding, how important branding is. You know, I really didn't understand how important branding was until someone came to me and they go, if you saw the little Starbucks woman on the side of the road and it didn't have the name Starbucks on it, which it doesn't, you know that's Starbucks. If you see the golden arches, but you don't see the McDonald's, you still know that's McDonald's. That's what branding you want. So focusing on branding, there's yard signs is my biggest ROI, and word of mouth is the absolute king. Word of mouth, and we have processes to try to build and capitalize on that. So word of mouth and yard signs are the two biggest things. And then follow, you got SEO. Google LSA is pretty good. Google Ads is probably, I would say, if I had to choose one thing I had to drop, it probably would be Google Ads. It's such a shot in the dark. You're throwing stuff at the wall. It's very hard, to compete. You've got private equity companies that have millions and millions of dollars just to go here. Every month, let me give Google $25,000. I don't like playing that game. I don't like playing the gamble money game. I like playing we're local, we're family owned. We're going to be there for you doing a quality job. We've got quality technicians. We've got fully wrapped vehicles, brand new. So, we'll be there. We've got 6 trucks on the road so we can arrive same day, fully stocked inventories. So we don't have to leave. We're going to get you fixed. Those are the things that I like to promote over Google Ads. Google LSA is good. I would say those are the main things that I have found really, really good ROI in.
Yeah, that checks out with a lot of the experiences that we have too. We talk to and work with people that are in the private equity game, and a lot of times it's like they want to test stuff before they necessarily open a location in a particular market. So the only channels that they have, depending on how they're running it, but let's say that they wanted to open a new location, the paid channels like Facebook and Google Ads is where they're going to put their money in, to try to just test demand and all of that stuff. The sponsoring the baseball game and putting the signs out in the areas that get a lot of traffic, that's the stuff that, like, as a local brand, you can't replicate that as an out-of-state PE firm that wants to try to, bust into a market because they see, upside there. Those are the little things that, like, yeah, you can't, they're not going to be able to compete with you on that level. Generally speaking, like the deeper pockets you have, yeah, the Google ad thing can work. But yeah, for a lot of the people that we've consulted and worked with, we've seen that Google Ads has gotten much more expensive, and pretty much you hit the nail on the head. Like, people with a lot of money can afford to, it's because it works on a bidding system. For the guys that are watching this, some of you guys are probably well aware and some of them are not, but the LSA's local service ad, that's the green check mark, Google guarantee, those ones are pay per call, which is great. So, you guys aren't spending money just for someone to click onto your page and you don't even know if it's a bot or real traffic or not. That can get really expensive really quick. Or let's say that, you have a competitor in your area that you're not so fond of, and you happen to search HVAC near me, and there's a guy that's running ads, and you say, hey, wait a minute, if I click on this button, it's going to cost him $60. Yeah, that's crazy. Click, 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 click. So click fraud is a real thing too. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of dirty little tricks when it comes to the Google Ads side of things. So it can get expensive pretty quick. But yeah, right on, man. Would love to pick your brain too about the referral system, because we have something that we work with our clients, and we're well aware that referrals and word of mouth is the bread and butter. You're never going to get a better one, higher quality customer, 2, higher close rate for your sales guys. Your referrals and word of mouth is a layup. And basically the process that we focused on is, if you do a great job, you have a quality service, people will talk about you. The only issue with that is it's unpredictable, it's unscalable. You can't really control when you might get 100 phone calls from word of mouth in a week and then nothing happens for a month. So the reason for that being, like, when you do a good job, people will refer you, they will talk about you, but only when HVAC comes up in conversation. So really the goal with our, referral systems is to just shorten the time that it takes for that conversation to take place. So I'm curious if you want to break down your strategy, and we'll share ours after and kind of see if there's some overlap there. But what do you guys do to kind of accelerate that process a little bit?
Yeah, we've got a program where, if a customer refers another person and they go with our services, They get credits or they can get actual cash. So that system program works pretty well. It goes onto a platform, that it gets results, because people want to tell people if they get good service, they want to tell other people. If they almost get excited about it, like, oh man, my HVAC is like, hey, I got a great guy. He came over, he took care of me. And like you're saying, it's the highest chance of approvals. It's the absolute best. My guys at the end of every call says, hey, if there's anybody else you know of, please keep us in mind. I'm working on a deeper end of it. I'd be interesting to hear yours because I haven't figured out exactly how to track it well, how to increase it organically. Besides at the end of the call, my guys are asking, "Hey, please tell a friend." We do have that referral system, and that works. But I definitely could grow in that area because it's absolutely whenever they call and say, "Hey, this person referred me," we make sure we send them a card, is what we do. We actually do a handwritten card, and the entire office signs it, and we mail it to them. Go, hey, we really appreciate you giving us this business and referring us. If we've done little gifts too, depending on what it happens. Again, we try to have fun with it. But yeah, I'd be definitely interested to hear what you guys do because I could definitely improve on our system, consistent. It is definitely the best ROI, for sure. Because those are the only two things that I'm doing right now is having my team say it, and then also the program that we have is what we're doing.
Sure. So the handwritten cards is a great idea. And how we've kind of figured out what works the best is at the end of the day, like you win regardless when you get new jobs. So the trick is figuring out how to properly incentivize not only the person that's doing the referring, but also creating enough incentive and drive for someone that's getting referred. And like you said, a lot of people are more than happy to talk about your business positively when they have a good experience, but there's not necessarily a lot of urgency there. So what we try to do to create that is, we'll give a referral card to our paying customer. And so in your case, it would be like, here's our handwritten flyer or mailer. In that flyer, folded up inside of it, have 3 gift cards for your service. And basically, the paying customer receives the gift cards that are discounted. We do typically $50 for a repair, $200 off of an installation, or whatever makes sense for you. You got to know your margins. Don't give away free money. It has to make sense, right? And what happens is when that paying customer gives out the gift card and someone redeems it or actually pays you for the service, you give them an equal amount in a Visa prepaid card, Starbucks gift card to the local restaurant, something like that. So the reason why it works and why the person that is doing or handing the cards out doesn't feel like they're just shilling your service. And that's the problem with like the affiliate marketing kind of stuff too, especially is people don't want to feel like they're just being sold something because they know the person gets a kickback on the other end of it, right? So the way it's set up where the person that's getting referred gets a discount, and then after the transaction's complete, the person that initially brought them to your service gets compensated afterwards. It creates a mutual win-win where the person knows like, okay, yeah, this guy might be getting a little kickback. They're not paying, or they're not like, the person that's handing the cards out doesn't feel sleazy is at the end of the day what we're trying to get to, because the person that they're giving the card to is getting a discount. There's something in it for them too. Everybody's winning. So that's really, really important. And then as far as tracking it goes, on the actual gift card, the phone number and maybe a QR code that goes to a specific landing page on the site with a contact form that's set up. And as that gets imported into your CRM, you know that any phone calls from that number or any submissions from the form on that landing page is a word of mouth referral from gift cards, is like what our lead source is for that. So as far as tracking it goes, that's typically how we do it. But really the biggest thing is creating like a triangle where it's a win for you, a win for the customer, and a win for the person that's getting referred. And as long as there's good incentive for all three parties, it works pretty good. So yeah, and I think that could really go in tandem with the handwritten signed off stuff. Like the personalized touch will take that to the next level. You know what I mean? That does definitely count. So yeah, that's kind of what we've done and what we've seen a lot of success with. And really the biggest shift, because a lot of people have some kind of incentive or referral system where it's like, hey, if you send us a new customer, we'll send you like $50 or we'll give you a gift card. The thing that after we tweaked it a little bit, that made the biggest difference was giving the person that's getting referred an incentive to actually call you. Because otherwise that gift card is going to sit on their desk or in their wallet or in their, drawer in a cupboard somewhere in their house until they need the HVAC guy, right? But what creates the urgency or the desire for them to actually call you right away is, oh, you know what? I was thinking about that thing, getting that done, getting that replaced, getting that repaired. It wasn't a super top priority thing now, but I've got this $50, $200 off coupon right here. I might as well use it. And, within reason, you can put expiration valid through 3 months from now, whatever. So there's urgency and it creates that actual demand for it. So that was kind of the little tweak that once we started implementing that, it's like, okay, we're seeing it happen in real time where the calls are coming in from it. We're tracking it. And then every single one of those referrals is also getting 3 more cards for themselves. So once you get them in circulation, it picks up pretty quick. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Great feedback.
yeah, cool. Sweet. Yash, you want to fire away with some more questions? We're getting close to the end. I don't know how we're doing on time. If you've got a couple more minutes to spare here, but
Oh, yeah, I've got something. I've got a little bit more time.
Sure. I've got one last question. This is more like a closing one. If an HVAC owner is listening to this right now and feels kind of an overwhelmed, understaffed, and stuck in the day-to-day operation, what is one decision that you would push to them to make in the next 30, 60 days that would change the trajectory of their overall business in the longer term?
I'm gonna tell you of because I was at that point for a very long time, and I just thought I needed to work harder. When I would say a year in from going full time, I didn't hire a CSR because I sat there and I said, I can answer the phones to the customer. I'm gonna give them the best service. I can do it while I'm working at a customer's house. You know, the best thing that I had ever done was probably hand over the phones to a CSR. I hired a CSR. It was actually my second hire. I hired a technician, and then shortly after, I hired a CSR. And my strongest suggestion is to read the book "Buy Back Your Time." That was a absolutely great read because it gave me a lot of insight into it. For instance, if you like mowing your yard, I can see you mowing your yard, no problem. I'm at the position where I don't find enjoyment in mowing my yard. Okay, it costs me $150 a month, for instance. I'm gonna go ahead and mow the yard 2 times a month because I don't want to pay that. I want to save money. You don't realize how important your time is. I can make that money in a 30-second conversation. So if I don't enjoy it and I'm investing my time into just to save $150 a month, it just doesn't make sense. So me hiring that CSR absolutely allowed me to dive so much deeper. It allowed me to talk to my customers on a personal level without having to worry about the phone going off or having to call the customer back. I could focus on my job. I could focus on, hey, what next job are we going to do? Hey, let me do a little bit of working on the business instead of just in it. So I would say find out what you don't like doing and try to basically contract that out, hire somebody to replace that. In my mindset, I was like, no, I don't want to spend that money. And that's probably the most valuable thing that I did was understand I can hire somebody to do something that I don't like, get the money side out of it. Oh, I've got a $600 payroll a week. once you get that off of your plate, you don't realize how much more opportunity you have to be able to get more business, to be able to advance and things like that. So that's what really kicked things around for me was that basically hiring someone that stuff that I didn't want to do is my strongest suggestion because I was in that exact same position. And the first thing that's coming to mind is when I hired that CSR and the weight that was lifted off of me. So make sure you're hiring people to take things off your plate. Don't try to do it all to save money.
Yeah. I think that for certain positions like that, it's a little bit more easy to justify for maybe the first time business owner, where it's like their first hire being another technician is almost a necessity because the first bottleneck they're going to hit is like they literally physically cannot get all of the work done.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, if you have one or two guys and yourself out in the field, you know, with your hands dirty all the time, actually performing the services, the next issue very quickly becomes, well, the phone's ringing and I can't really get to that right now, but I know that that's money on the other end of that phone call for the business. Like, it's very important that that thing gets done. And there's been a lot of, you know, consumer studies and stuff that have shown that if you can get back to your phone calls, your new leads within less than a minute, you're 391% more likely to get that job. So it's like, if you could quadruple or triple your business just by hiring someone to pick up the phone and make sure that it does not ring for more than 10, like every time the phone rings, it's getting answered. Like, that makes a ton of sense to be able to justify that. The thing that I think more people struggle with is when you are hiring for a position that isn't necessarily a revenue generating position for the business. What was kind of your experience dealing with that first hire? And maybe you were at a place in the business where the revenue was like, okay, we can afford to hire this person. It's more just like like you said, I'm buying back my time sort of deal versus I'm looking at this as like with the marketing side of things, or maybe even the sales side of things. It's more ROI. What am I putting in versus what am I getting out versus maybe someone that does paperwork or something like that, a CPA, or you talked about like a hiring or recruiting guy where it's like they don't have $1 an hour value assigned to what they cost you on payroll that you can compare to what they generate for the business in return. So what was kind of the mindset around hiring that first person, and how was that different in your approach to hiring someone that has a trackable, direct, you know, income producing metric attached to them for the business?
Yeah, I mean, they call them revenue producers, right? The people in the field are revenue producers. But at the end of the day, if you're not giving your customer the service, it all contributes to making sure we're taking care of our customer. I used to think that way, and like I said, one of my biggest flaws was thinking I could do it all so I could save money. And I didn't realize how many opportunities I lost and how much I was stretching myself trying to do everything, you know, the CSR, the HR, answering emails, the answering phone calls, calling customers. I look at it like I have to provide the service to the customer. I can't do everything. The biggest hurdle that I got around was when I hired that CSR and I saw that benefit of how much weight that lifted off of me. My revenue that the next year jumped 100% just off of me being able to contribute more time to working on the business, me being in the field more, making sure the techs are doing a good job, make sure our customers are happy. And then office, you know, I've got 4 office staff. Um, I've got them sending out handwritten letters. I've got a marketing person that I've got helping on my social side. I've got you know, a technician that's able to talk to customers that have open proposals and they can talk the lingo, they can answer the customers' questions. You know, I've got a office manager that can keep them all in line to where I'm not constantly have to make sure they're doing well. I've got a recruiter, you know, so all those things don't produce revenue, But if I take some of those away, you're going to start lacking in the quality of service that you provide your customer. So it kind of, now looking at my mindset, it blends all together. No, they're not a revenue producer, but the service that I want to deliver my customers would be absolutely impossible if I didn't have them right next to our side. So I look at it as one in one. I really don't look at it as they're not revenue producers. I just don't have that mindset anymore.
Uh-huh.
With where you're at right now, what do you think are some of the highest leverage tasks that you're doing on a day-to-day basis now that you're more detached from, actually being out in the van or the truck, going out, performing the actual service or answering the call, stuff like that? What are the things that you're focused on now where you're kind of at that on the business stage, that you focus on? Like, what does your day-to-day look like? What are the things that you're like, if I can get this done, I know if I can pull this lever, it's gonna do this for the business? What are those things for you right now? What are you focused on?
I mean, I'm looking at all my pillars, sales, marketing, customer service, leadership. So what I'm more focused on now is making sure I'm the leader for my team. I'm very good at delegation. I used to try to do all these tasks and like, this is how the business is going to move. Now I give people responsibilities and I hold people accountable, to make sure that they're getting the things done at the quality level that I want to. That is the most, like I said, I used to try to do all the tasks and I never had time and I didn't know what they were doing. Now, having meetings every single day. We have task management software like Trello, where they have certain tasks they have to get done on a daily basis. I have meetings where it goes, hey, this yesterday, this is what we wanted to accomplish. Did we accomplish it? So it's constantly holding people accountable, making sure. Delegation and accountability are the two biggest things I could say are what turns the needle. I also am very good at time management. I follow a schedule. The day before, I've already got my entire day planned out. If I have any gaps, I find out where I can put stuff into. So when I'm at work, I have 100%. I have 100% progress forward. So where when I get off at 5 o'clock, I'm not trying to answer emails. I'm not trying to do other things. I want to be present in the moment with my family. So that's the main thing is delegation and accountability. And depending on my team, I don't need to do it all. I just need to have people that can is my best mantra.
If you were to ballpark how long you could go on vacation and have your business continue to operate or maybe even grow, what's your projection on that?
I mean, here just recently, I went on a couple 1 week vacations, just came back from Colorado. Business revenue, as far as growing, I do see it drop a little bit. As far as growth, it maintains. Things get done. But I'm not at the level yet where I could go a month and be comfortable with that. I I I went to Colorado for an entire week, about 3 weeks ago, and I didn't get one call about the business. Didn't get one call. My team took care of it all. Now, were just some decisions made that could have been pushed a little bit more and things like that? Of course. I'm working to get to that level. I always want to be a part of the business. I'm pretending like I want to be able to not be a part of the business at all, and it grows, it makes money, it does that, but I'm not just doing this for the money and to build a business that can run itself. I have passion for this. I love the people I work with. I love taking care of the customers. I love building the company up, to become, a legacy in the county that I'm at. So I'm having a blast. But I am running my business like I am trying to get to that point. I would say comfortably, 2 weeks. I would be able to leave. And again, 3 weeks ago, I left for a whole week and I didn't get one phone call. Problems came up. They still got taken care of. People came in, jobs got done, customers were happy, no 1-star reviews. So I've got a good process. But again, I'm working on it every single day. I want to be better. I want to, anything I can do to be a better version of myself and to bring the team with me. I'm focused on doing. I am I am better than I am yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow is a great thing I like to live by.
100%. Yeah, 7 days is still very impressive. It's about 7 days more than most people can say. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Right on. Yash, you have anything else?
Not really. This was a great one, Billy. Um, Absolutely loved it. The story, the insights that you gave. And uh, yeah, should be it.
Yeah. Cool, man. Right on. Appreciate your time. We'll have all your stuff, socials and business website and everything linked down below. Any closing statements, if people want to get in touch with you or check you out, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so Winter Haven, Florida, Integrity Refrigeration and AC. You know, we do things different. We focus on quality. I'm a part of everything that goes on to make sure we're driving the best for our customer. Our website's Integrity Refrigeration and AC.com. And you can reach us at 863-557-4608. And I'll send everything also so you can have it down below.
Right on. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.